Hello everyone, I'm Tracy Derwin and I'm here with Shane Buell. In today's video, we'll be showing some highlights from ballistic specialist Zeb Boykin. He has a YouTube channel called Outside the Overton, and he's going to provide his expert analysis of the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Before we get started, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so before you leave and like, comment, and share this video so we can let as many people know. So a couple of things that he addresses is the earpiece that Charlie had, and he does get some clips of the movement of it and what it did to his shirt. Because I know I've been getting a lot of messages suggesting that there was some kind of armor under his shirt. So he's going to discuss that, and then he's going to explain the entry-exit wound using the analysis, and then we're going to talk a little bit about one of the guys that was standing behind him. So, okay, Shane, you want to start out with the earpiece? This was the part that was the most convincing. Like, I have no question that this is what happened with the earpiece.
And some people said, this is hitting body armor, right? If he was hitting from the front, this would be a body armor shot. It's some type of plate, it looks like, possibly catching a shockwave or whatever. It's not the case. I'm going to demonstrate that here in a second. I actually have the mic on that he's using and a headset that I'm going to demonstrate exactly what happened. And so as we go, this is an exit wound in the neck. An entry wound doesn't cause that immediately. Then we're going to follow up with entry and exit wound here in a second. But as we go, you can see, you can barely faintly see this as we go back and forth. But we'll get a cleaner shot of that here in a second. That is the earpiece flying off. And then, yeah, I mean, like I said, if this was a straight-on shot, it wouldn't create that kind of entry wound. I'm going to pull this out. Hopefully y'all can hear me as I demonstrate. I'm going to go to full screen. It's not his body armor. What it is his... So he has a mic. I have my mic. Let me make sure that audio is working. Yes, okay, we're good. So I have my mic right here, and I have an earpiece. And Charlie Kirk has an earpiece in, and I'll demonstrate that here in a second in the camera 3. And so what he's done, and it's actually more comfortable. I give him this. I figured this one out. It's more comfortable to have it wrap around and pinch into a mic than it is to have it drape straight down because it doesn't pull on you, right? It's loose up here. It's loose, right? I have my mic, and it wraps around the back of my head, and it comes here, and it comes across. And I'll demonstrate I'll show you exactly where it's at here. And it comes across. My shirt's a little bit tighter than his is, but the point remains the same. And that's why his mic is almost vertical in this frame, right? It's pinched up. It's not flat like most people wear it with the magnet. It's pinched because it's grabbing the cord. And so the cord is, I just had to unplug mine, but let's say he's got it tucked in right here. And he's sitting down, so it's kind of crunched up a little bit. And when it hits, it pops up, right? So you can see the cord is somewhat similar to where his is. Boom, there's your cord. It pulls from the shockwave, and it grabs the shirt and pulls it up. I'll explain that here in a second. And so this is, the cord is running down through the neck. It pulls the collar up, and the shockwave pulls the rest of the cord with it. That's why it looks like it's a circle. Let me get situated. So that's why it's a circle. Hopefully y'all heard everything. And then it pulls up, right? And so when it pops, this probably pops off. Maybe it doesn't. It doesn't matter. It's kind of irrelevant at this point, but it's just a little DJI mic. He probably has something extremely similar. All that being said, this is angle number 2, and this is what we are looking at right now. Like I said, this looks like body armor, but it doesn't because it's the cord kind of catching the shockwave. We're going to roll into, I'm not going to let you watch the leak, but basically it's an open wound. That's an exit wound, not an entry. Entry doesn't do that. I would say it's a smaller caliber than a 30-06. A 30-06 would make a much bigger hole. I could probably pull up.
All right. So yeah, I think that is one of the better explanations that we've seen so far. Now, when I first went through the evidence, it looked kind of like to me like there might have been some body armor. And so my first analysis had me thinking that it was a deflection from like a steel plate or something that he was using as body armor. But there is another clip that I don't have handy right now, but it's where they're carrying him out to the SUV. And while they're carrying him, his shirt kind of rides up over his stomach, and you can see that there's nothing on his stomach. You don't see his chest, but in other videos, you can see like his nipples are actually showing through his t-shirt. And so I don't think there was a chest plate, and I don't think there was a bulletproof vest. And if there was a blood bag, it was probably hidden somewhere else, like maybe under his armpit. So to me, it's looking like the most likely would be the mic cord.
Yeah, and that was something that I noticed right away, shortly after the shooting. It seemed like his shirt there was something under it. which was
Yeah, and especially the edge of his collar where the cord was, that was what popped up the highest. It even came up higher than his jawline even. And I think that's because all of the slack was taken out of the cord and it pulled his shirt up with it.
Did we see the earpiece come out in that clip?
There is another clip I have that I think shows it. It's I think it's from one of the front angles where it shows, you can see the cord coming up from behind and
We'll see it later.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, there's another clip where you can see the earpiece come out, and that's when the cord is lifted. Okay. And then let's talk a little bit about the caliber. So the official story is that it's a 30-06, which is a pretty big bullet, but looking at the wound, it would suggest it was a smaller caliber. I'm going to play that right here.
I would say it's a smaller caliber than a 30-06. A 30-06 would make a much bigger hole. Right, and so we're looking at something like this. You see, that's a, I mean, it's obviously not the scale, but this is what we're looking at, right? We have an exit wound, let's call it 38, 53, 57, 9 mil, probably a 9 mil. I assumed when we were first breaking the story, I assumed it was a closer shot than, these are all pistol rounds, but something along the lines of a 38. They claim rifle. It sounds like a rifle. Doesn't sound like 30-06. Sounds like something smaller, maybe 5.56. Maybe I wouldn't think 7.62. 7.62 is a little bit deeper sound.
So the rifle they found will not accommodate a smaller caliber bullet than the 30-06, right?
Right, yeah. So the 30-06, the Mauser 30-06 is made to chamber only a 30-06 round. If you tried to put a smaller round in there, it wouldn't be compatible.
And they also said the casing was still in the rifle, which means it couldn't have been disassembled or taken apart. And that seems to be more likely because it does take some time to take that rifle apart. I did look into it. And but if they could prove that it was a smaller caliber, that weapon is certainly not the one that shot the bullet.
We would need to recover the bullet to actually do ballistics to test the bullet with the rifle to match it. And since they're claiming no bullet was found, the actual ballistics cannot be done.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see that. I think they purposely don't want us to know that.
Right.
Okay, do you want me to start with the next clip? Entry, exit.
Yeah.
All right. First thing I want you to notice, and I didn't think anything of it the first time around. I want you to watch his earlobe as it goes right there. I don't know if you can see that. It's not a lot, but it's enough. And so then we go on. There's a piece that starts to fly back. This is another piece. I was assuming this was blood, but it's not blood. What this is that earpiece, the same earpiece that we were talking about a second ago. This is the same earpiece, right? I was watching this. Boom, boom. See, I thought it was going backwards. We're supposed to be flying away from him. It's flying towards him, right? That's because it's the earpiece. It's attached to him. So when he was hit, most likely, maybe not necessarily in the earpiece, maybe a little bit lower, maybe it hit the jaw. Anyway, the temporary cavity, it calls a temporary cavity. Maybe I can pull that up here. Let me pull up a temporary cavity since we're doing all this. This is a temporary cavity diagram. So what we're looking at is probably an entry near the base of the ear or the jaw, and then this would it's at an angle, right? So it's gonna what's called yaw inside. So especially if it hits bone, it's gonna be very, very unpredictable. And so what I'm talking about is the cavity would cause the cord to kind of where's my cord? The cord to kind of pull the shirt, right? And so this is exactly what we're looking at. It would cause the cord to pull the shirt, just like a cord. The wire sends signals. It's gonna catch any kind of reverberations, vibrations, and it's gonna throw itself. And that's exactly what you're seeing here, right? It's throwing itself, right? If you watch, comes out of the ear, goes around, pulls the shirt up, and pulls the rest of the cord with it at the same time, along with that mic that's got it pinned in, right? The mic's pinned in to the shirt or to the cord, wire, whatever you want to call it, irrelevant. It kind of throws itself there. There's an exit wound again. Right, and so we're watching this earpiece get thrown. It pulls the shirt, and so so what I want you to notice is this exit wound, and there's blood on the shirt. Again, this is evidence too that this is an exit wound, not just because it's this, not just because it's about to gush, but also there's blood on the shirt. And if you have an entry wound, it wouldn't have blood on the shirt going in. This doesn't make sense.
And I've heard other ballistic analysts say that definitely looks like an exit wound.
Yeah, it definitely looks like an exit wound, and it definitely looks like a smaller caliber than a Mauser 30-06.
They have already taken the crime scene. They've already paved over the area that there was grass. I think it's a way to cover up any kind of evidence or ability to recreate the scene to figure out what really happened. I never saw that area taped off at any point. And just a few days later, it was being, there was construction on that area and everything was taken down. Okay, do you want me to play the other entry and exit? Or
Sure.
we're going to play both?
They're different.
Okay.
200 yards would put you way far away. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 80 meters right here. And so if we're looking at this, there's nowhere to have it. And so either there's something off with the frame, or it's just not a muzzle flash, which I'm perfectly fine with saying that it's not. Regardless of if it is or not, we still have basically confirmation he got shot from his right, exit out the left. If I had to guess, I would say he got hit at the base of the skull. I could use my skeleton. He got hit at the base of the skull here, probably, right? And so we're talking, this is immediate incapacitation. He didn't die from blood loss. He died instantly, which would mean it either hit spinal or the base of the brain, or either some portion of the brain that would take everything out. So what I'm saying is the FBI is lying. It's quite literally not possible for the shooter to have been on the roof that they claim he is, along with other inconsistencies across the board. So when we go, I want to look here. All right, one more time. This is most likely entry somewhere in this vicinity. It hits bone and it projects itself outward through the neck. Once it hits bone, it's unpredictable, right? And so also, if it's within like 150 yards, you have what's called a yaw, right? So if a bullet's flying, it's going to do like a circular motion. Well, I can't even do it. It's going to rotate itself, trying to stabilize itself in flight. Just Google y'all. You can figure it out. It's going to try and stabilize itself, and if it's not stabilized, it's going to hit not a smooth target. And so if it's any direction when it hits, it's going to tumble in itself. And so I think that's what we see here. It tumbles out, hits the shirt, and then he starts leaking. An entry wound does not do that.
Or anything on that? That one? Okay, and then I have a clip of Frank Turek, but I since seen an interview of him explaining exactly what happened after the shooting, and that Charlie was like a son to him. So I think maybe we can link that interview in the description, because this clip just kind of shows what he was doing. And he was the one that was, I guess, in a way, accused of doing like a cue, like touching his hat and something, but I don't think that's what he was doing. I don't think he was communicating with the shooter. For a big reason is I don't think that shooter needed any kind of cue. I think they were close enough and they had a scope so they could see well enough, where they were shooting. So I'm not going to play that one. Was there anything else you want to see before I play the muzzle flash?
Finish this up. This is camera angle 1, just pulled from a higher portion of the video, right? So if we're looking at this, the bullet is coming in from somewhere in this direction or somewhere in this direction, right? It has to float this way. If we're looking at bullet here, which I think we can confirm given everything else that we've seen. Where is it? Frame here. So if we're looking here, this is camera angle 1 on up. Let's assume this is a bullet. I think it's safe to say that is the bullet, given this, given everything else. We can go back to Pixelmator Pro, take a look at this thing. And so we have this shot of Charlie Kirk, and then we have the bullet behind him. The bullet behind him is like right here in angle, somewhere in this vicinity. And so what we have to do is we can track that bullet. Boom. We can track about where that bullet is, give or take. And then we can follow that on here. And so this is what I'm going to show you. I think this is a muzzle flash. But I'm going to show you the problem that I have with it here in a second. Let's assume this is a muzzle flash, right? So look top. Whoa, let me pull you up. So look top left up here. You see this white dot. Once you see this white dot, it's a single frame. It's a single frame white dot. So we can go back, forward. It's a single frame. That's all it is, single frame. But that single frame is very coincidental, or that's a muzzle flash. And I'm willing to kind of throw it off as coincidental because we already have our answer to kind of direction of the bullet. It's quite literally not possible to do what was done from a straight on shot. It doesn't happen. And I would say there's not two shooters. I would say there's a single shooter. Anyway, given this is a muzzle flash, we're looking top left up here, guys. We go, we're going to count frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, 8 frames. 9, 10 is when he gets hit. So we're going to go 8 frames. It almost looks like a vapor trail here, but the problem is everything's so grainy, right? So if we're looking, we can do vapor trail later, but if we're looking here, vapor trail. I know there's a lot of movement there, so I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying if we're assuming, which I think we are, it's quite possible there is. Anyway, regardless, not really the point. So this about 8 frames would put you at like 200 yards. The problem is 200 yards would put you way far away. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 80 meters right here. And so if we're looking at this, there's nowhere to have it. So either there's something off with the frame where it's just not a muzzle flash, which I'm perfectly fine with saying that it's not.
Okay, so at the end, he was saying that it's most likely not a muzzle flash because the shooter would have had to be further, right? Is that what you took from that?
That's what he's saying, yeah.
All right, so that wasn't a muzzle flash, but I think he just wanted to show the possibility. Is there anything else you wanted to say on that one?
Not necessarily. I did want to backtrack a little bit, though.
Okay.
Okay, so after he talked about the caliber, I wanted to show the alleged gun as a Mauser 30-06. It can only be chambered in 30-06. It wouldn't be compatible with a smaller round. And then when he talked about the entry-exit wounds, entry wounds are small, exit wounds are larger. And he thinks this is about a 9 millimeter or like 380 size, which would be probably middle of the range here. But a 30-06 would leave an even larger exit wound than the 45 that's pictured here. And we just don't see that. One other thing that I wanted to point out is that in the video from Charlie's right side, you can actually see 2 frames where the earpiece gets knocked off. The one on the left is where the earpiece is starting to fly off. And then the one on the right here, you can see it just above the back of his head there. And that's the cord for the earpiece as it flies off.
All right. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but this is just what I've heard is that a gathering this size is supposed to have EMT and an ambulance on site, and there wasn't one. So that's why he was carried into the SUV and driven to the hospital. And I saw the interview of Frank. He said that on the way there, they saw the ambulances going the other way, but that he could tell when he looked in his eyes that he was already gone. His eyes were open, but he can tell he was no longer, with them. So
I did find some more possible evidence. So based on the angle that Zeb was showing there, it looks like it came from the direction of the south stairwell. And there is some footage that shows something anomalous both before and after the shooting. So right before the shooting, there is what looks like a figure on top of that building. And that does line up with Zeb's conclusion that it came from the right. And so that would be pretty close to in line with the angle that he was looking at. And this is before the shooting, and then this is after the shooting. You can see whatever was there is now gone. And so I'm not saying that that is or is not the shooter, but it's just one other piece of information that should be investigated.
it kind of looks like that person would be too high because there was a tent. It just kind of seems like the line of vision may not have been there, because he was like in the middle of the tent.
Possibly. I need to do some 3D analysis on this to see if that's the case or not.
Okay. So I hope we did a good job at, discrediting the official narrative that they're putting out there and blaming it on Tyler Robinson. To me, it seems like the state and local law enforcement were given the task to make, to pin this on one person because they said that he acted alone, and then create the evidence to back it up. Because the only really solid piece of evidence we have are those Discord messages. And if you dissect those, they don't seem natural for a text message exchange. It does kind of seem like someone wrote it, with the intention of providing evidence to support the narrative that they were putting out there. I mean, that's very clear to me. And it seems like they weren't really prepared for that, because a lot of things don't make sense, you know, with the gun, the fact that the shooter was wearing different clothes in the different surveillance clips. And then also, it's just so weird that the media that they released is so poor quality, you know, like those 2 pictures of him in the stairwell. Why couldn't they show the video? Because they obviously got a video of him walking up, and then the one of him running across the roof and jumping off, that one is grainy too. It's hard to believe that there is no other surveillance aside from what they released.
Right.
So,
and in regards to the messages that you mentioned, I might have like some breaking news here. So this is from the New York Times, and it says that the text exchange between Robinson and his partner was reproduced by prosecutors. Now, this is probably because of the aggressive interview style that Cash referred to. So it almost sounds like he was coerced under duress to reproduce these messages verbally, which they had written down. So it looks like that the prosecutors have reproduced that conversation and not actually pulled it from, you know, the
Discord.
files itself.
So
So there's Discord messages and there's text messages, and this may actually be a text exchange that was reproduced through coercion during the interview process.
Okay, I don't think that's the same as the messages from Discord.
Well, there is some dispute there. So according to Discord, that there is no actual messages that are contextually related to the shooting. Now, the Discord messages do reference a handwritten letter, which the FBI claims was destroyed, which is also convenient or inconvenient, however you look at it. But then this text message exchange, whether it was Discord or text messages, it's not really clear at this point, but it does look like prosecutors have reproduced that based on the coerced evidence that was gotten from the interrogation. And I do suspect that he was under duress when he was being coerced to give that testimony.
Yeah, I did hear Cash say that. And my understanding was it was like some kind of handwritten note that they asked him about. But if it was it had to have been some kind of an electronic exchange if he was communicating with him from a distance.
Yes. And so they're claiming that some of that took place on Discord, and Discord is saying that the messages they have regarding that are not pertaining to the shooting. They do reference a letter, but nothing about the shooting.
Okay, so maybe they had to say that when Discord said we don't have any record of this alleged exchange.
Most likely that's probably
the case, oh no, it was some kind of it was another text, you know, exchange. And Lance, is that the name of the guy that had to reproduce it? Yeah, they wanted him to, you know, I'm sure he was coerced aggressively to make something up. So yeah, just a really poor way of putting a narrative together, I think. All right, so I think that's gonna do it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. And we have another video coming up probably over the weekend. It'll be released. So thank you guys for being here, and we'll see you soon. Bye.